listening to WEMF Radio. The radio now.
Welcome back, folks, out of Citywide Blackout, WEMF Radio. Glad you're joining the show. Glad you're watching on the live stream, or listening to me now, or listening to the podcast, or not listening at all. Whatever you guys do, make your own choices. If you want to got questions, you can message me on Citywide Blackout on Facebook. You can also get at me through Instagram, Twitter, Citywide Max, or you can tune into the live stream here and ask your questions there. My buddy Nick is watching right now. What's up, Nick? We were talking earlier about this app that you can actually program drinks depending on your mood. I don't know what you get if you enter crippling depression. Maybe nothing. Maybe like a ride home. I'm not really sure, but we'll talk a little more before I talk that one later. Anyway, in the meantime, I am now joined by filmmaker Chris Esper, talking about his company Stories in Motion.
Yep.
But also, you are about to hit the festival circuit, sir.
Yes, I am. Yeah,
All right.
I have two short films that I just completed.
Mm-hmm.
One of which is a silent drama called Imposter. And that's sort of a visual representation of anxiety, what it's like to have anxiety. And
Really?
Yeah, so kind of powerful stuff. And
Is this based on a personal experience of some kind?
yeah, kind of, sort of, I would say. I mean, but it's also, obviously very universal appeal, because the whole reason for it being silent is because, as I found out recently, 40 million people in the United States alone suffer from some sort of anxiety disorder.
Sure, yeah.
And so but the thing is, with anxiety, you suffer in silence. Hence why it's a silent film, and it's something that's real to you, but nobody else really understands or gets. So everyone around you is just like, they don't see what you're seeing or feel what you're feeling, and that's sort of what the film portrays, in the sense that we have these characters that have what we call counterparts, people that always stand beside them, that they can see but nobody else can, and they're always either tapping them on the shoulder or whispering in their ear negative thoughts of some kind. And so the film is a visual representation of that, what it's like to go through that, and then ultimately how do you overcome that. And so it's sort of a bitter. I don't want to say bittersweet. I suppose it's sort of tragic, but yet there is sort of a side to it where it does have a sense of relief, I guess you could say. So that's one film, and then the other is a crime drama called Bent, which is about corrupt cops. Yeah, very timely in today's society.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
Yeah,
Your fingers right there, on the pulse, man. Between anxiety and now this.
Yeah, which is funny because it's a complete departure from the previous two films I did, which were comedies.
Jeez. The Corrupt Cops. It's hilarious.
That's right. Yeah, Corrupt Cops. Hilarious.
No. So what went into making the second film? I mean, you're obviously dealing with a very sensitive subject these days, of course.
Right.
Did you kind of base any of this on what we're seeing today in the news, or did you try and go for your own separate thing?
Well, in the case with Bent, which is the name of the film, the script was given to me by a very talented writer and actor named Chris Salvi, and Chris is out of Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and he was in my previous short comedy I did called The Deja Vuers, that played very well, a lot of festivals, and he had the script quite a while, and he gave it to me. He felt it was something that I could do, and me being a fan of film noir and crime dramas, but particularly the 70s crime dramas like Serpico and Chinatown, all those those great movies. I felt there was something that I had an affinity for, and I thought, well, this is a complete 360 from everything else I've done. Let me step out of my comfort zone and try something different.
Exactly.
And I found it very fascinating. Then he told me about this documentary called oh my goodness, I forgot what it was called. But in any case, the documentary told the story about a corrupt cop in New York during the 70s and 80s and his rise and fall as a cop, and that's sort of what Chris based the story from, and it was very fascinating to see these real life people sort of take a different side away, and there are things that you never would ever think that our police force would do behind the scenes. And you're just like, these are people we're supposed to trust, and these are people that we're supposed to, supposed to go to, and and we find out that these things. I'm not saying it happens everywhere, but it certainly does happen, and so. If it was a challenging film to make, it was difficult. It was the longest film I've done to date. It's 20 minutes, and so there were location challenges. There was the challenges of making everything accurate. Being that it's not a world I was not familiar with in any way whatsoever, and so the challenge for me was being authentic while also not painting such a broad picture that all cops are bad, because that's not what the film says at all. The film takes a very neutral approach. It's more of a character study and a human drama than really it is a lot of shootout scenes. There's maybe two.
Okay, so is it like a more looking at how someone gets that way rather than the fact that they just are that way?
Yeah, kind of how someone gets that way, and then the main character, she is sort of stuck in a situation where she is going between losing her position or kind of giving up her partner, which, I mean, we've seen that story a lot of times, I'm sure. But it's sort of a different take on that, and how really it. Well, first of all, it's a female lead, which is something that I was very excited about. It's something that's really different, and she was a very strong, independent character, and so. I was excited about that, being able to capture that on film instead of what you would think of when you would think, okay, corrupt cop, you're going to see this, tough guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, especially with like all the officers that you see in the news these days, it's almost like always guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen a female officer in the center of any of these stories, so it's definitely a different take.
Right, and the script went through numerous changes over the years. There were different directors at one time, and then Chris.
Really?
Yeah, Chris decided on me. He just felt I could pull it off, and I was like, okay, cool. I mean, and I was like, all right, you're gonna go with the comedy guy? Okay, great.
Yeah, really?
Awesome.
Are you sure
awesome,
about that?
Great. So.
Take a swing,
Take a swing. That's it. Yeah.
Being that this was like a new thing for you, but something that you are like a fan of, was there any like a learning curve for you in terms of like working with such a serious storyline?
Yeah, I mean, particularly with this one, I did research on not just how the Force works, but also the language, the lingo, and sort of the brotherhood that is behind the scenes. Almost that, well, at least in this world that we're portraying, it was almost Chris and I often describe the script as being like an urban Western, almost like a Western film with the central characters you would see in a Western. It just happens to be in a city and with cops. So I watched a few Westerns in preparation for it. I watched some of the classic film noirs from the 50s, like The Big Heat, the Fritz Lang film. It's wonderful. Stuff like Prince of the City, which is from the early 80s, and that's a really good one as well. So I did a lot of watching, a lot of research. I researched a lot of the lingo, and Chris knows a lot of this stuff, so Chris kind of kept me up to date on how it all works, the lingo, the language, and also the ranking of officers.
Oh, wow.
It was sort of, had a, almost like a, I hate to make the comparison, but yeah, sort of like a mafia type of thing, where it was like, where you have your rankings and you have this sort of brotherhood and togetherness on the force, and that sort of reminded me of the mafia pictures I've seen, like Godfather and all that. So I try to approach it that way as well. Again, not portraying them as gangsters, but sort of with that same kind of mentality, or like a Western,
Wow. So it sounds like, in particular, for this movie, that this was a huge learning experience for you, because
it was.
You're not only you're not only taking on a very different genre, but you're learning all about all these other films which I've never heard of myself.
Right, yeah.
And,
so
film noir for me, I think, in terms of crime dramas, mostly it's the Untouchables. That's one of my favorite movies.
Sure.
Seen it 20 times.
Yeah.
That's about it for me, unfortunately.
Right, exactly.
And broaden the horizons there.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, most people think of that. They think of Goodfellas, Godfather,
Yeah.
all that, which they're great movies. They're fantastic. One of them, among my top 10. So,
Sure.
yeah.
But they're not the only things out there in that
Yeah,
particular genre.
yeah, no, exactly. So there's a whole, broad of movies of that category, and so I really wanted to stylistically get into that style of the crime dramas, of the film noirs. We did a lot of that with the lighting, with the cinematography.
Sure.
And we had a very talented cinematographer, Evan Schneider. He's filmmaker himself. He's just finished directing a film of his own. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Now you mentioned earlier that the script for this one it went through like a number of changes. Were they more like serious changes, where like people were dropped or scenes were dropped, or was it more small stuff?
A lot of small stuff, but
Okay.
but there was the title changed as well. One time it was called Calling It In, but it changed to Bent, and Bent means corrupt. In police terms.
Oh, wow.
And so and it felt like a more punchier title, so
Yeah,
like
definitely.
so I went with that. And then some of the characters changed as well. Chris did he had like a lot of richly drawn characters, and I write myself. I can never write a script like that. My scripts tend to be more use a lot of surreal elements, and they're very kind of out there in some way. This was a very grounded story and very narrative driven. Mine tend to be a little bit more, like I said, a bit surreal, a little bit out there, and but also a lot of metaphorical imagery as opposed to this. This was a very grounded sort of story.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Tell me about the cast for this one. Who did you get a chance to work with here?
So for the cast, we had a woman named Audrey Noon play the lead role of Brenda, and she does a lot of comedies herself. She's a director, and then she also
So many folks moving from
yeah, I
comedy
know,
thing to
right?
serious movies.
I know. And then a lot of the other actors include Justin Tebow, Chris also had a part in it.
Okay.
We also had Chris Fisher. A lot of these folks are like Fitchburg-based actors. Some of them just Massachusetts in general. We also had Chrissy Devine, who's a good friend of mine, in it as well for a small role, and Mark Powers, who's out of Vermont. Yeah, we had a very solid cast.
Definitely.
And it was fun. It was a fun film to make. It was difficult too because we were shooting in Fitchburg, which for most of us was like hour and a half away. So getting there was a challenge, for the preparation, pre-production to the actual shooting. And then, now the editing is done. We have to do a little bit of some sound work on it, but the film is finished, and yeah, I'm pretty proud of it despite all the difficulties that came with it.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that this was like a 20-minute film. You said
It was. Yep.
So that means, if in terms of like shooting time, we're talking like 50 hours, 60 hours.
I would say, yeah, it was like at least 5 or 6 shoot dates in the span of a couple of months. I would shoot on weekends, whenever people were available. I would like come. I was working at the time at a company doing video work for that, and when my night was done, I would just like go straight to Fitchburg. I shoot a scene, go home, do it again the next day. It was just that's how it was. I just there were days where I called out sick so I could make my movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't commit at work. I feel terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, guys, get things started quick.
Yeah,
my boss can't find out.
That's it, exactly. Yep.
Oh my god. All right. Well, folks, we are going to take a little break, and then when we come back, we'll talk more about the festival world, what it takes to get in there. In the meantime, I've got a brand new song for you guys from. This is a little like non-local, but that's okay. We strive to be as inclusive as possible here. This is Forest Hayes with Vitamin CBD, Citywide Blackout, WEMF Radio.
I think it'd be in your best interest to stop what you're doing and listen to WEMF radio. It's like radio now.
Welcome back, folks, to Citywide Blackout WEMF Radio. You just heard Forrest Hayes, or Hees. I'm sorry, I'm botching the name, buddy. But that was with that was Vitamin CBD. You can find him on Facebook under that name. That's Forrest with 2 R's, HEISE. On Facebook, Instagram under Sonic Yola, so Sonic YOLA, and iTunes, and that song's available for just $1. That's it, guys, $1, real cheap. I'm now joined by filmmaker Chris Esper. We were talking earlier about his 2 shorts, which he is preparing for the festival circuit. Now, what goes into actually getting your films out to the festivals? Do you just send them to every festival you can think of, or do you have to be a little more planning with that?
In the past, I used to just, submit to whoever.
Just
but
shotgun it?
Pretty much, yeah. But now I've sort of developed a system. Usually I recommend filmmakers to do that, which is, you want to... The thing with festivals is they have a specific audience oftentimes,
sure.
And also a specific niche that they're trying to reach, types of audience. So you definitely want to look at your film objectively, of course, and then kind of see, okay, well, where would my film appeal to? Why this festival sort of thing? And so I try to do some planning that way. Of course, there are some specific ones I love to submit to year after year, and I always submit to those. But then there are some new ones I'll discover where if someone is looking for the experimental films, like in the case of my anxiety film, Imposter, you could submit to that because it is sort of experimental in some way. Or, they're looking for crime dramas, then I could submit Ben to them, or they're looking for comedies or whatever. Well, whatever the case may be. So I always look for the ones I know are most likely to not only watch my film, but also to accept it and screen it and all that. And so that's what I tend to do when I'm planning for the festivals. And, of course, you have to budget it, too, because it costs money to submit to festivals.
That's right. Yeah, they each have registration fee or something like that.
Yeah. And some could be as low as $10, and others could be as high as, $50,
Oh, but that adds up,
Oh, yeah, big time.
Definitely.
Big time. I've dipped into my wallet so many times for festivals. No. It's not even funny.
Oh my god!
But when you get in and your film screens, and and even better if you win an award, hey, it's worth it.
That's great. Now, do you go to every festival which you appear at, or are some of them kind of way out there on on the West Coast, and you actually can't physically be there?
Some of them I do. Like the ones that are certainly on the East Coast, I certainly go to.
Definitely.
I've gone as far as New Hampshire or Maine to attend festivals.
There you go.
If I happen to be in California, which I was for a short period of time in Los Angeles, then I had 2 films play at the time. Then I'll go, but very rarely does that happen because, you just can't travel everywhere. It's just not affordable. But,
of course.
But, I always tell the festival, hey, if I can't go, just, let me know how it goes, all that,
Do they like me? Do they cheer?
That's right. Yeah, that's it exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of festivals which you are always submitting to. Which of those?
So let's see. So locally, anyway, there are the couple of festivals such as Massachusetts Independent Film Festival,
sure, yeah.
which is in Cambridge.
Right in Berkeley.
Yep, exactly.
No,
Brookline.
Brattle.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Brattle Theater. Yeah.
B. It starts with a B. I knew that much.
Yeah. So
sorry, Brattle. Sorry, Berkeley.
That's it. Yeah. So I always submit to that one. There's one in Rhode Island called the Scene Festival that takes place in Providence, usually at the Columbus Theater. It's a nice big theater. And there's also the Sanford International Film Festival up in Maine. So a couple of ones like those I tend to submit to year after year. Oh yeah, the Shawn O'Shea Film Festival, which is also in Boston. And that one's also for a great cause as well. So when you submit, your money actually goes to a charity of some kind.
No kidding.
Yeah. Rather it's a memorial foundation for the founder's daughter who had passed away sadly.
Oh my God.
So it goes to a good cause, and in that way, it goes to I can't. Sorry, Skip, I forgot what it goes to.
Oh boy!
But
well, look it up, folks. Go to the festival.
That's it.
Support the cause.
But yeah, so that goes to a good cause as well. So some of these festivals actually do have a good cause behind it, which is great. and of course you have the big festivals like Sundance. You have South by Southwest, and
Oh yeah, get into there is big.
yeah. I mean, honestly, they probably only accept maybe 1% of their submissions that they receive. So I mean, it's like it's a crapshoot. It's like winning the lottery. But if you feel confident in your film and you could look to your film objectively and say, is this something that you could see playing there? You could, if you genuinely feel like you have a chance, I say submit. But
Sure.
I think the key is being objective, because so many people just submit with the hopes of getting in, but without actually seeing, is this good production value? Is the acting good? Is the sound good? Is the lighting good? And camera work and all that? Like, what separates this from the rest? And that's a tough question to answer sometimes, especially when you're so close to the film, as close as you are.
Exactly.
So another way I try to figure that out is I submit to film critics to review my film. And I've gotten reviews that are good, bad, and different all across the board, and that could be tough to take, but it's a good way of getting an unbiased and objective opinion from someone who's not a peer, someone who doesn't know you, isn't from your area, and is a film watcher and film critic, some certified, some just independent bloggers, but in any case, you're getting an opinion, and if your film gets great acclaim, hey, that's awesome. Put it in your press kit.
It's a big deal, yeah.
But if your film doesn't get a good review, hey, on to the next one.
Exactly. So we talked during the break about about the more business, or the more like a corporate side of the film world.
Yeah.
So in addition to making your own movies, your sort of like day job kind of is doing
Videography.
Yeah, videography for like a business and whatnot.
Yeah.
How did you first get started with that?
Just out of school. I mean, when I was out of college, I went to New England Tech in Rhode Island. What had happened was I tried finding jobs at companies, and just like it was just so hard to grab a job with a company. So finally, I started freelancing, doing weddings and commercials. And at first, I was doing a lot of free work. It's really how it,
Yeah, exactly.
that's how it comes down to, life of a struggling artist, And so,
we were talking about that earlier on, man, like a starving artist. Kind of
yeah,
thing.
I mean,
it's very real.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how big you get, it still exists. The idea, because the thing with any art is any job you do by commission, you're being paid with the hopes of moving on to the next job.
Sure.
And it's all just, it's either feast or famine. It's survival year after year. And I know so many filmmakers and artists that don't have, either live in apartments, or they still live at home, or what have you. And that's just the nature of the beast. So I've been doing it for about 6 years now, since I left school. And so yeah, I do a lot of weddings, especially during this time of the year, and also do commercials for small businesses and music videos for artists. And those are fun, because it's still sort of a side of filmmaking where you could be creative and all that. I mean, you could be creative with weddings as well, but it's different because you're adhering to a client's needs.
Sure.
One needs to be captured and all that. And, they could sometimes be a pain in the ass, not going to lie.
Well, you mentioned during the break about the time you did the video for the beekeeping company.
Oh, yeah.
And you yourself are actually allergic to bees.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you and your producer, right?
Director.
Director. Sorry. You guys are both allergic, so you're there in like the full
Yeah.
beekeeper getup.
Oh,
because
yeah.
This is
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with that job was there's a website called Staff Me Up, which I use a lot. I recommend anyone in the film business to use it. You get a lot of, production assistant gigs from that, or, just any film gigs, really. So this gig I applied for was to be a camera operator on a series of pilots, like test pilots for this company out in Los Angeles. And
Cool.
So they hired me as a camera operator, and there was this guy that was sort of leading the thing with me. We had 3 shoot dates. One of them was at a bee farm, and we're both allergic to bees. So we have our.
Oh my god!
We
I can imagine what that's gonna be like.
Yeah, we had 2 EpiPens, each of us. Jeez. And we're wearing the bee suits. I'm filming close-ups on the I don't remember what it's called, the thing that the bees sort of
the honeycomb kind
Thank
of thing?
you. Yeah, the honeycomb. So we're filming close-ups. I'm like, I see a bee go on my arm on this
boy.
bee suit. I'm just like, I'm sweating bullets in this bee suit. I'm filming this close-up. I'm like trying to get the good shot, trying to maintain my focus and all that. I got this bee on top of me. Oh God.
Oh my god.
It took all my strength to just not
Freak the hell out.
freak the hell out, exactly.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I mean, like,
so.
I don't like bees, but I'm like not allergic. I would be like, "Yep, we're going home. We're not
That's
doing
it, yeah.
Done. I quit. I'm not doing this
That's
crap
it.
anymore."
Yeah.
Oh my god!
You're paying me how much again?
Yeah, double it, triple it, because this is crazy shit, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So now, is this like, does this like allow you to do like your own work? Do you use it to kind of like fund your films, or is this like your day job?
I mean, yeah. Basically, this basically is my day job. Doing videography. There are some months that are really good, and other months that are not so good. Especially in the winter. Things are just dead.
Oh god, yeah. This area dies.
Yeah.
I have a friend who works in films. She's working on some like pretty like big pictures, but the winter comes, she's like jobless basically.
I know,
because no one's making films.
I know that. Yeah, during that season, I usually take that time to write scripts, or I'm working as a production assistant on like reality TV shows.
Cool.
So because sometimes shows like House Hunters will come into town, or what's it called? An MTV show will come in, or Travel Channel will come in, and they'll want production assistants, which the other industry term for that is a set bitch, which we all jokingly
I've never heard
say.
that one. I'll keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
I know. Yeah. So basically, your job is just the basics. You get coffee. You're
the gopher.
You're the gopher. Yeah, exactly. So I do jobs like that really for two reasons. One, because it's pretty good money. It's not bad.
Sure.
You learn a lot, but more importantly, it keeps you grounded because. I think the most important thing about this business is remaining humble, remaining grounded, because when you get even the littlest, I've seen it. You get that tiny bit of success, suddenly it goes to your head, and you think
you're too big for like the small gigs.
All of a sudden, you're too big for the small gigs. So I use it as a way to sort of keep myself grounded in reality, as a way to tell myself, hey, you know what? I have a lot to learn.
Yeah, I think probably also helps because it keeps you out there in the film industry.
Exactly.
So like they know, okay, Chris is always working. He was on this. He was on that. We want to hire this guy because he's like a workhorse. He'll get it done.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and I learned a lot of that from being out in Los Angeles. I was an intern for a small company out there. They either produced or financed, I can't remember. They produced films like Way Back and Drive and a few others. Oh, Draft Day. Yeah. So so I was a script reader for that company, and every day I would get scripts. I would read the scripts. I would write what's called script coverage, where you would basically say the full synopsis, beginning to end, and then finally your thoughts on the script, and you say yay or nay to the writer, to the thing, and then that goes to the executives and the story editor. So you sort of, in a way, not so much that you sort of dictate what gets made, but I'm sure the opinion certainly
You have a say there.
helps a little bit. But even then, I had to do all the basics. I was there. I was the first one there every day.
Oh, geez, last one out.
Well, no, yeah. Yeah, I would say so, yeah. But, I wanted to. I mean, I wasn't supposed to report till like 9 a.m. I went there at 8 because
there you go.
I just wanted to show that I was serious and I wanted to take initiative. So being in LA, it taught me a lot. You meet so many amazing people.
Sure.
Your network. I got to meet one of my favorite directors. It was fascinating.
Nice,
it really
man.
was.
Nice. All right, folks, we are going to be taking another break. I want to, of course, thank Chris for being here today.
Thank you.
Great to have you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you want to learn more, you go to storiesmotion.com. That's his website. You can follow on all the news. Follow him on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, wherever, everywhere else, basically.
Everywhere.
But you can learn all about the news, what festivals he's in, and see him there, hopefully. But Chris, thanks again so much, man, and best of luck out there.
Thank you.
All right. We're taking one more break, folks. Then we come back. We are going to be joined by Ryan Panett. He is a singer-songwriter. He has a number of shows planned out for the summer. We're going to actually have some live music for you guys. So keep it right here. Give you guys a song from the Mallet Brothers Band. Good night. Well, not good night. We're still doing this. Just that's the name of the song. Good night. Citywide Blackout, WEMF Radio.